Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be another PlayStation 5 which has been damaged by another technician. This is part number 2. If you haven't watched part number 1, I highly recommend it. I received 2 PS5s from the same technician, both of them with the same problem, and that is that the fan connector had been damaged. And basically this is number 2. Number 1 should be on the channel already. So I won't spoil it, but I will leave a link in the top pinned comment to that one. So if you want to check that one out first and then come back to this one, then I would recommend doing that. But if you are new to the channel, then I would really appreciate it if number 1 you hit subscribe and turn on the bell notifications, that way you're notified whenever I upload. And number 2, you give the video an early thumbs up because it makes the algorithm really happy. And if you want to support me in any way, shape or form, then you can head over to Twitch and become a Twitch Prime subscriber. It's absolutely free if you've got Amazon Prime. Just link your Amazon Prime account to Twitch and you can subscribe for free. Massively helps out the channel and doesn't cost you a penny. There's also a link to Patreon in the video description, and you can become a channel member also by clicking on the join button just below this video. Channel members and Patreon supporters get early access to videos as well. So with that being said, let's get into this repair. Okay, so this is, like I said, PlayStation 5 number 2. I haven't tested this one yet, I haven't confirmed how it turns on, but basically this has come in for a damaged fan connector, and it's the same one off the technician that got in touch about the other one. So it's actually the same day, literally half an hour after I've just finished that one. So I'm going to make sure it turns on first, as I always do, just to kind of make sure that I'm not going to be liable for anything further on down the line. So if it doesn't turn on now, then obviously, you know, I've got a little bit of cover at least. So I'll wait for this to go to a white light. So we're on blue right now. Yep, there we go. That goes white. That's fine. So I'll just shut that down. Press and hold it until you get a second beep. Always try and shut it down properly. Don't ever just pull the lead out, because that does kill power supplies on the PS5. So don't pull the lead out, just shut it down properly, even if it takes an extra minute to do so. And there we go, that's it. It took literally 15 seconds. Alright, so let's just take a look. Hopefully I don't have to take all of the screws out on this one to be able to get it working. And okay, how has this got a warranty sticker on it? Okay, that's weird. I do like that cover though. Yeah, that is very, very odd. I think they've literally just started to take it apart and broken the connector straight away. Wow. Okay, right. So I'm going to need to take the top off this then. But I shouldn't realistically need to go all the way in. Okay, it does look like this fan might have been cleaned. Not seeing any dust inside, okay. But it does look like the fan's been cleaned, but we have got all 3 traces here damaged. And this one might need a replacement connector. I'll have to inspect that, but it looks like the pins are bent. And this is one of the annoying things, because now I've got to cut this sticker to get this off. Actually, let's try and peel it away, and I'll try sticking it back down. Right, I'll try and stick that back down at the end. I think that's going to work better than peeling it away. We've got a 1 terabyte drive in there. I shouldn't need to take this apart any further. I should just be able to do it like this. Yeah, there we go. That'll work. So managed to get it to focus without taking it out of the case. So that's going to save me a lot of time. Rather than disturbing the liquid metal, let's just start to expose these traces. So what I need to do here, I'm not sure whether you'll have watched the other video. So basically what I'm doing here is I need to expose these traces and allow me somewhere to solder a connector onto. So just give it a scrape with my blade. There we go. So just give it a scrape with my blade, and basically that's going to expose the copper and give me somewhere to solder to. Usually what I would do here is use a bit of heat on the board, but because this is still inside the housing, I'm not going to do that. Using heat on the board would soften up this solder mask, normally. But like I said, it's still inside the housing, so I can't really risk that. I certainly do not have a black case to replace this with. I've got white cases, but if I damage this case, I'm in trouble, because I would have to source a black case. Okay, so that's that one exposed. Let's just expose part of the ground trace at the top here, and then let's do the same for this one as well. Okay, that's good. So what that's done there is it's exposed the copper and basically given me somewhere where I can solder to. So the solder mask is going to prevent the solder from bonding, so we have to scrape that away. It doesn't look great, but it is unfortunately a necessity if we want to make a successful repair. So what I'll do now is I'll just tin these newly formed traces and basically give me somewhere that I can actually solder some wire to. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be using some jumper wire to fix the traces, the 3 traces, but I'm going to be using some solder braid or solder wick to fix the anchor points, which are going to be these ground points on the edge. So I want to create a strong connection which is going to last quite a long time, and not something that's just going to fall apart as soon as someone tries to service it in the future. So that's why I need to recreate some anchor points, because if I don't anchor the connector down, it's just going to flap around everywhere. So with that tinned, I'm going to grab some solder braid. I'm going to solder some braid to the board where these anchor points used to be. Being careful not to short out with this pin here, this trace here, because if I short out to there, then it's going to cause a short between the power rail for the fan and ground, and we're going to have serious problems. So we have to be careful. So I'm just going to flood this with a little bit of solder just to strengthen that bond, and then grab my tweezers. I'm just holding it down with the tweezers. There we go. And then I can cut away the solder braid here using my very sharp knife, which I've sharpened with the Dremel. And as I said in the last video, I sharpened it for this specific reason, because I needed a way to cut solder braid while it had solder on top of it. So that's just formed a new anchor point there. So what I'll do now is get some jumper wire. So I'm going to be using some 0.17mm jumper wire. And this is basically enamelled wire. So what I need to do is just expose the enamel coating just by scraping it with the iron. And you can see that it's tinning there, which is what we want. So the enamel coating would prevent it from making contact with the solder and with the pin as well. So we expose a little bit of the trace just to give us somewhere to make contact with, somewhere that's conductive. And then we can trim that away and move on to the next trace. This should be a nice quick job, to be honest, given that I don't need to disassemble the console to do this repair. I can't see any signs of any dust or anything inside on the heatsink, so I don't need to service it. It looks like that's already been done for me, which is great. Break that trace away. There we go. And one last trace with the jumper wire. There we go. And now I can create that last anchor point. So once again, take some solder braid here. Making sure that it's as flat to the board as I can get it as well. And then again, just flood it with a bit of solder just to strengthen that bond. And the wick is going to suck that solder up. It really does work really well. And there we go. So now I can just trim that away again. Beautiful. Alright, let's just warm that up a little bit. Don't want to heat it up too much. Just enough to melt that flux. And then I can just give it a scrub. Try not to get IPA everywhere because it is still inside the case. So it wouldn't hurt it, but I'd rather not. Just make sure we've cleaned up. No excess flux. And now I can focus on the connector itself. So there's the connector. And as you can see, we've still got the traces that have been lifted off the board on the connector. So what I do is just add a little bit of flux to the connector. You don't have to add flux, it just makes the life a little bit easier. And then if we hold the connector with tweezers, we can just desolder them straight off the board. Or off the connector rather. Cleaning the iron after every trace. But you can see here now that this pin is bent. So I'm going to try and straighten it out. Okay, there we go. Let's just get that to sit back down inside its groove. A little bit difficult, but not impossible. Look at that. Perfect. And now you can see how that's going to sit. So let's just add some flux. And then I'm going to leave my solder hanging there. Take a little bit of the solder and flow it. There we go. Let's do the same the other side. There we go. And then if I push down on the connector, I can make sure it's flat to the board. Cool, there we go. So that realistically now should be absolutely solid. And it is, as you can see, it's not moving nowhere. Let's just add a tad more flux here. There we go. Solder the wires, and now I'll use my multimeter and just make sure that I get a diode reading on each of those pins. So with my red probe on ground, multimeter in diode mode, and on this pin here I get 0.45, yeah, okay. This one is ground. 0.46, okay, cool. That works. I have a nice connection. You may notice I didn't use solder mask on this one. That's because I wanted to show both ways of doing it. You don't have to use solder mask on these to be able to do a successful repair. So I'll just clean this up. But you don't have to use solder mask. It's not an absolute requirement. So if you don't have any, then don't worry about it. It's not going to affect the console as long as you haven't got a short. So just give that a little bit of a clean there. And there we go. Oh, hang on. Have I knocked that trace off by cleaning it? What's happened to that trace? What has happened to that trace? I think I've knocked it off by cleaning it. But that's not because of the solder mask. That's just the fact that we had a weak connection. Because it's not come off on the other end. Alright, let me check that again. Make sure we still have a good contact. We do. Okay. Now we're going to clean it again. Lovely. That looks good to me. Alright, let's give it a test. Don't want to stick that back down yet. So let's just be careful that it doesn't make a bond. Feels like a really decent quality skin though, to be honest. Let's just plug that in there. Connect up the fan. At least this one's not wonky like the last one was. And let's just make sure that the fan spins. Here we go. There we go. Fantastic. I've made that joke twice now, I'll stop. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So another successful repair. This one was really easy. This was just literally took me, including, now bear in mind my video workflow is I will get my screenshot for my thumbnail and then I'll do my intro, then I'll get into the repair, etc. I've been filming for 32 minutes and that's including getting my thumbnail and everything else. Yeah, really easy this one was. A lot better than the other one. The other one took me around about an hour, but this one I'll have to do less work, so a lot less time. But yeah, everything's working, and another customer, hopefully, is going to be happy. So that's going to be for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comments down below. I know I did this one a little bit differently. I did it inside the case, which is unorthodox on its own, but when you are confident with the soldering iron or when you are experienced, you know what you can get away with, and I know where my hands are at all times, which is why I chose to do this one in the case, save myself some time and allow me to move on to another job. And also I didn't use solder mask on this one. Again, you don't need solder mask. You don't have to use it. Solder mask is only when there's going to be a chance of any kind of shorts or anything like that. So because there's going to be no chance of any shorts, that connector is literally solid. It's not going nowhere, and it's going to take a complete and utter fool to break that again. It's definitely got more solder on it than it come out of the factory with, and it's definitely a lot stronger. So yeah, that shouldn't break again, and we shouldn't have any risk of shorts or anything like that. But yeah, obviously it's working and everything seems to be fine. So as you can see behind me, it's staying on. I do need to do some more tests to it, so I need to test it and make sure it don't overheat or anything like that. But this console should be a long-lasting repair now, and the customer hopefully is going to be happy. So that's going to be it for now. Like I said, if you do want to support me in any way, then there's a Patreon link in the video description. There's a channel join button down below if you want to become a channel member. It gives you a nice little icon on YouTube, and channel members and Patreon supporters do get early access to videos. You can also head over to Twitch and become a Twitch Prime subscriber, and that's absolutely free for you to do, and it does massively help out the channel. Or you can just continue watching the videos. It really does help me out, and I really do appreciate it. So that's going to be it for now. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.